Hey, what's going on? This is Khaliq Glover, also known as Khaliq-O-Vision, and I've got something very exciting for you today. So let's just get started and dig right into it. This is about mixing gospel music, and we're starting out. I'm going to break it out into a series of videos for you. This is video 1 out of 4 we're going to be doing. But what I wanted to do is really get in here and tackle this subject. So it could help a whole lot of people who have some great music in them and great musicianship or whatever, but they might need that little extra bump. So before we get started, though, I want to ask you a question. Let me see. Let me back this out a little bit and see. Do you know who this guy is? I just want to see, do you know who this guy is? And how is he related to mixing music? And I'm going to share that with you in a little bit, but see if you can think about it. Maybe you recognize who it is. But anyway, my goal for you today, I've got several goals, but one big goal that I want you to know that I have for you is when you walk away from here, you're going to be able to elevate your music to the next level just as easily without losing the feeling that is inherent in gospel music. That's so important, and I'm going to show you just how to look inside of some things during this series. So you're going to want to stick around to the very end because, like I said, we got 4 videos coming, and I also have something very special for you as well. And we're also going to have some things like where you'll be able to download everything that'll be helpful to you that you can take into your studio and elevate your music on while you're practicing. So one thing is, I want to not only give you clarity of sound, but I want to give you clarity of mind as well. One of the things that I always get in from a lot of people, I've been doing some webinars and things like that, and a lot of people want to be clear about what to tackle first and how to go about doing these things in a systemized manner where they can go ahead and know that they can get consistent results. The thing is that a lot of people don't get consistent results. So after we do this series, I think I'm going to give you some good insights on how to do that. And I'm going to also show you something later on that if you want to take it further beyond these 4 videos, I'll show you how you can do that. But this is going to be very, very different than what you're used to. I've got something very special later on, like I mentioned, and I want to just go ahead and kind of let you know who I am and why it'd be good for you to just kind of pay attention to this video series if you're just now running across me. My name is Khaliq Glover. I'm also known as Khaliq-O-Vision. And I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of different people. I'm a Grammy award-winning engineer, author, and producer. Some of my clients have included Michael Jackson and Prince, Justin Timberlake, Angie Stone, Jeffrey Osborne, Marcus Miller, Herbie Hancock, Christina Aguilera, just a bunch of people. I've been very, very lucky and blessed in my career. So I've got like a lot of time in, so I passed that on by being an educator and a coach and a mentor as well over all these times. I've actually got 30 plus years of high-level experience in the music industry. I started with a country music star, Kenny Rogers. If any of you guys know who he is, the gambler. If you're younger, you may not know, but Kenny Rogers, I kind of started and went in and lucked out. So I'm so blessed, and many times this is why I want to give back to mixing gospel music, because I've been blessed just 5 billion times over. I'm amazed, and I could have lost count. So it's time for me to pass some things on to you as well. Okay, so I want you to know that you're in the right place. This is definitely for you if you've been struggling with making your music come and sound the way that you want, with the power and majesty and clarity and all the things that you know that it should have. And you have talent. You know that you've got the talent to do this. And you know that what you're doing is good quality stuff, but it just needs that extra little kick, and you're wondering, what are they doing to get that little extra thing that mine is missing? So this is for you, because I want you to know that I'll show you some of the things you need to look for and listen to that go beyond the standard things you may be thinking of. Now, because this is about mixing gospel music, now I'm not going on and acting like I'm a pastor or anything like that, but I wanted to understand while I'm communicating this to you, just what does that mean? The term, gospel music, Christian music, or however you think about it, and how is it mentioned in the Bible and things like that. So I came across this Ephesians 5:19, where it says, speaking to one another with psalms, hymns, and songs from the Spirit, sing and make music from your heart to the Lord, So I know that for me, whenever I listen to music and it just does something to me. And gospel music, really, when you have great gospel music, it really digs in and just digs into your soul, and it feels just like it's supposed to do. You're singing and making music from your heart to the Lord, and there's a connection there. So I'm going to try to show how we can honor that connection and honor what's going on in that message, so that we make sure that we are injecting the very best of what's going on, more so than being technical about it, So I was looking even further around just to see, I went to the good old Wikipedia here, that's not the authority, of course, and I'm just doing research and everything. So I want you to know I went there. So the Christian music industry, is very, very huge out there. It's got a lot of things going on there. But one thing that was interesting to me is, as I was doing some of my research, I saw that it said 215 million people have listened to Christian slash gospel music in the last month. That's 68% of all Americans. That's a lot of people listening to gospel music, because I've been looking for other research, and a few people were talking about gospel music is dead, and other people were saying various different things, but it's the fastest growing radio format out there right now. And these are every indication that it's just getting stronger and stronger and growing more and more, So we can't believe a lot of times what some people go for when they're looking for it, because the industry has changed. So you can't view it the same way that you did back before. Now, one thing that I know too about gospel music is I wanted to see, and I came across this where like it's easy to do it, how to write gospel music in 7 steps with pictures. Well, we all know this is not true. It's not a paint by the numbers thing that you can just kind of do step by step and follow some pictures and bam, you got great gospel music. Doesn't work like that, So I thought that was kind of easy, and then I also ran across Kirk Franklin saying every time we focus on sales over souls. I thought that was great, because some people get into it because it is a fast growing and very loyal audience, but you can't approach something like this coming from, trying to make all the sales and be real commercial. It's got to come from the heart, and it's got to reach the heart and connect. So this is what I'm going to do for you. Now, here's a group. This is a group. I don't know if you know who this is. This is an old school group that's been around. They're legends in the gospel music industry, the Rance Allen Group. Now, why am I showing them? I wanted to show them because as I was coming up through learning how to engineer, produce, and things like that. Like I said, I've been blessed so many times. So I was blessed to actually work with this legendary group a while back. And I worked on a classic album. This album was called Phenomenon by the Rance Allen Group. It had a huge hit called Miracle Worker, And I was blessed to work on that, be called in. They had several different other people that were working on it, but for whatever reason, I was brought in on this to work, and I brought a flavor, I guess, that was so cool and so in tune, because, God talked to me and just let me feel what was going on. So you see my name on here on the credits and everything, but I was still playing my, playing and producing then. So I got synthesizer credit, drum credit. I didn't play guitar on there because Rance played his butt off and everything. But I got producer credit. They made me a co-producer on this album, and I also mixed it. I recorded and mixed on there as well. So they liked what I brought to the thing because I brought a whole different little flavor and everything that gave them just that little extra thing. But like I said, something was working through me because, you know, it's not like I'm brilliant or anything. I never take credit for anything like that. I was just blessed to be put in, and we were all put together and we made it happen. That record, I am very proud to say, ended up being #1 on the gospel music charts for 15 weeks. 15 weeks. I couldn't believe it, you know, and I was part of it, you know, so is one more of my many blessings that I've had in life, you know, working with some legends and to get with something that turned out to really touch a lot of people. So, you know, I think I'm the right person to teach you about this and share some of my knowledge on some of these things, you know. Now, I also worked on the follow-up album. It was an album called You Make Me Want to Dance, and it did quite well as in addition. So I was looking through and even just to find as much information. And one of the things I have this term here, energetic gospel music, when you're talking about recording and mixing it. For me, when I hear gospel music, I always feel energy, you know, so I want to be sure that's part of it. That was part of what I actually brought to the production, you know, I felt the energy that was in there, and so I wanted to make sure that that was present because that's what really, to me, even when it's slow and insightful, there's still an energy about it. So that word is very important. So I've been blessed to figure out some things, and I've done a lot of things right, you know, but I hate to tell you this, y'all. We've all been lied to. We've been duped, okay, when it comes down to talking about how to approach mixing, engineering, and things like that, you know. Because after doing this for over 30 years, you know, I've come around to a big thing full circle. You know, I started out as a musician and didn't know anything, but once I got in, I started going crazy. But what I discovered is not to immediately go for EQs and compressors and all the weird effects and all these things, trying to get in and do the technical stuff first. I actually came around and learned that that's not the way to go, because there's so many other things that are more important before you start reaching in and doing that blindly. And a lot of people do that, and I'm guilty of that too. I discovered the single biggest factor that's the most important thing to getting a successful result, you know, and I'll share that with you shortly. And then I also discovered how to uncover and inject the most crucial elements with power in almost any type of music or any type of instrument, you know, when you know what to look for. Okay, I discovered all this the hard way, but you get to take the easy way. You know, the hard way is to just go with trial and error, like I did for many years, and guessing about what to do and hoping that it works. You know, even though I learned from a lot of the greatest people out there, I still had to put in my time, and I did a lot of trial and error, you know, because quite frankly, back in the day too, a lot of people weren't sharing a lot of things. So, you know, you just had to kind of figure it out. You know, watching a lot of free videos and reading books, magazines, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of things that you can do now. There's more than ever out there for learning, but that is also, you know, something that is part of the duping process, because there's so much stuff, you don't know where to start many times. You don't know which is appropriate in which situation. There's too much information overload. So you may have a bunch of things, but you got to sift through all these videos that you find out for free on YouTube, etc. You don't know who is qualified to give you the information and who isn't. And there's a lot of great information out there too, but also it's on a case-by-case basis, myself included. You know, if I'm the right fit for you or the way I teach, then you'll kind of get it. But if I'm just more in a big pile of information, like there's a lot of things, you know, sometimes it can become more confusing. So the best thing that I've wanted to do is find a way to take you from A to Z so that you don't get confused in a step-by-step manner, you know. The other thing you can do is hope that somebody will peer out of the blue and provide you with an opportunity. And that doesn't happen too much these days. It happened a lot for me, and part of my blessing, so it's not over. It's taken a different form. But relying on just that, I think, is definitely the hard way to go about doing it, you know. So if you want to have an easier way that makes you stand out, you know, we're going to go back to this guy. Now, this guy said this. He said, every block of stone has a statue inside it, and it is the task of the sculptor to discover it. That guy is Michelangelo. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the Michelangelo method of mixing to uncover what's already there. Gospel music, the sound, the feeling, and all the clues are already there and injected in it. So I totally believe that if you don't mess it up by trying to make it into something and just listen, get in tune and everything, you'll find out what's there. Just like Michelangelo, he has the statue there and he chips away what's not the statue to uncover the statue. You know, so that's what we're going to do in the music. We're going to chip away these things. We're going to take our raw things and see what's already there. And the things that aren't the music, we won't enhance that. And the things that are, we'll make them shine more and everything. But it's already in there. We just got to listen, dig in. Now, there's basically 3 secrets to it all. You know, the first secret is it's all about the feeling. That's what it is. This is gospel music. This is music of your soul, and it's got to have feeling. So when you get caught up in being too technical, it can be a very, very huge danger zone. It's always about the feeling. You got to always remind yourself about that. Secret number 2, it's all about the message. You know, the lyrics are so important in gospel music. So when you have vocals and things in there, you know, we're going to be dealing with a track, well, I'm going to show you when we go into Pro Tools, that's instrumental right now. But I hope to later at some point to even get some vocals in there because it's so important. In fact, vocals are king in gospel music because it's about the message. It's all about the message, okay? And secret number 3, it's all about the connection. Now, there's a word missing there. That missing word is spiritual connection. This music has to connect with the listener. There has to be a spiritual connection with who's hearing it and how they feel, so that it becomes a divine connection. That it's not about you, it's not about me. That divine connection has to be there when somebody listens and hears it. For all of these things being together and having feeling and the message being clear, there will be a connection that makes people just sway and get into it and just they go somewhere else, you know. So we got to make sure we put that into the music. Well, I won't even say put it in. It is already there. We just got to make it shine what's already there. Okay? Now, let me give you an overview of my process. This video is going to be a little bit longer, and then we're going to go through the series and everything. So I'll show you as we go. The first thing, and we're not going to cover it, but I'll just mention it. We dig into that deeper at another time. But the first thing, which is obvious, is listening and assessing. And there's a particular special way to go about listening and assessing what's happening and identifying the right things. I'll show you that later at some other point. But the next thing after that is finding the landmark sections of the song. These songs have landmarks and transitions and everything. You've got to know and identify what is what, why it's important, and more importantly, what's happening in there, you know. So that gets us to the secret sauce of what goes on. And in a moment, we're going to go into Pro Tools and take a listen so we can actually hear that, and I'll point some things out to you. Let's dig into the secret sauce, because when we talk about secret number 1, it's all about the feeling. We must combine 2 processes that were in that little graphic that you saw to achieve that. Okay, so these are the 2 processes. We got to identify the key players and their roles in the music message, and that role can change and play, but we'll talk about that in a bit. And the other part is we got to start getting basic control and enhancing of processing and effects. So once we, you know, have got those 2 things working together, you'll start laying a foundation, you know. So identifying the key players and their roles in the music message, that's, you know, the big, huge part. You got to understand their roles by understanding what the main foundational instruments are that hold up each section of the song. There are foundational instruments that if you get rid of them, the song collapses, you know. So this is really the key. You know, determining the roles. Next is the determining the roles that the key instruments are playing, and also noticing, does their role change in the different sections of the song. That's huge, you know. You got to really listen intently for each instrument and what it's doing and the role it's playing, and does it suddenly change, because it might move forward, it might move backward, you know, and command the lead and then come back and do support, you know. solving potential problems first and then blending things together to set the solid foundation. That is really the key. It's not really that hard, but it is a particular process to listen and then identify what the things are, you know. So for example, you want your drums popping usually in most cases. This song that I'll be using as an example, I worked with my boy JP from Hear and Play, and I was giving that as stems, and the drums are on the stereo thing. So when you don't have individual control, the bottom line is the goal is still the same. I want the drums popping. So I started out on a stereo track, and basically this is my first processing setup for a stereo set of drums, a stereo drum stem. So I couldn't control the kick, I couldn't control the snare or the different balances I wanted, frequency content or whatever. So I had to find a way to process, to extract some of the things that I wanted to bring the feel out, okay? But guess what? It changed because I ended up with something very different than what I started with. So what's going to be real helpful for you is to not see, because that's part of the other thing where we've been duped and lied to, is a lot of people think that you can just put one thing on and you're one and done. And that's not how it works. You know, it's an ongoing, growing, changing process that is liquid while you're doing this, okay? And I ended up with a whole different set of things, you know, or maybe a couple of things that stayed, but a lot of times changing it for different reasons. You know, the textures that I'm trying to hear, the way things are, the algorithms are working, because these are plugins. I may need something that for some reason it just didn't feel quite right, even though it was doing the thing that I wanted it to do, like a compressor. Different manufacturers and the way they make their algorithms, they have a different feel, and recognizing that's important. Anyway, now, let's go over to Pro Tools real quick, and then I kind of want to show you some examples of what I'm talking about, okay? So let's go over here and join me over there. Okay, so we got this song up here, and I want to go ahead and show you a few things that you can think about, because like I said, secret number one, we're going to dig into about making sure that we have the feeling, and then the message, and then the connection. Well, all of these things are the overall most important thing is to capture what the spirit of the song is and what it's trying to do and convey and how it can touch people. So let's check out in Pro Tools, and I want to show you a couple of the instruments and the breakdown of why I did a few things, and some of the limitations that I had a few limitations, and but limitations, I believe, are just the challenge to find what is already there, like Michelangelo said. So it wasn't really a limitation that I couldn't work with. I made it happen, and I think it definitely benefited. So let's go here, and I'm going to play it, a little bit of it, and we're going to check it out and see what's happening. Okay, let's turn this over here so we can see what's going on. All right, so basically what's happening here is, and I'll show you, let's expand that. We've got, you know, I've got a stereo drum track that came here, and you know, I just have it submixed. So these represent my drums, stereo, and I'm processing it. And a couple of things that I broke out. Here's another part that came in, clap loop and rhythm. That's basically it for the drums. You know, I didn't have separate command of the kick and snare and all that, but I'm going to play the song and let you kind of hear what's going on with it. So let me play the original version here. I'm going to solo this, and we should have it.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
This is the basic track that was given to me with a rough mix, and you know, I just want you to kind of listen and take some mental notes. Sounds good already. good, and the musicianship is incredible. Okay, so you get an idea of it. The song has a lot of different dynamic things happening, a lot of different colors, you know, the guitars, horns, stuff like that, little hits, percussion stuff, the drums, and two different types of sounds of guitar. So when I got this, now let me tell you how this happened. Me and JP were talking. JP and Jermaine asked if I could help them with something that they have coming that is going to be also amazing for you guys. And what I thought is, as I was pulling this stuff up, I was like, you know, it'd be interesting for people to see and watch over my shoulder as I'm doing some of this stuff, because I'm going through the process, and more importantly, changing stuff in the process. It's very helpful to see what I'm doing and hear and listen to why I'm doing these things and making the changes. So one of the first things I showed you earlier about what I was doing with the drums and the plugins I initially started with, but I ended up changing them. Now the drums, for example, when we talk about the feeling of it and everything, and one of the parts is identifying the key players. You know, that's what I said as far as being one of the very first things that you want to do is identify the key players and then determine what their role is. So, you know, a song like this is definitely very rhythmic centric, and so the drums were a big part. But then did you notice, and I want you to think about this before I tell you what my thoughts are and how I developed them in. But what were the secondary instruments, not secondary, but the foundational instruments? What instruments could this song not do without, you know? And you just heard that was the basic version, but what I'm gonna do is also play the other version and show you what I did to enhance it. So, okay. So we started here, and I want you to notice too, if I click it, this Pro Tools will show you the peak. This is peaking at 0.01, so it's like using almost all the level as far as peak. You know, so it's up there. So it's not a thing. But let me mute that. This is the processing I did. Now, I think you can hear that it's a little bigger, fatter, and everything, and wider sounding and all that. And I'm not even done with it, but I just wanted to get you in there. Go back here. So you can see I kind of boosted it up in a good way, and the important thing to know is that, you know, like I said, that's what I wanted to show you, is that it's not like it's louder, it just sounds louder, it sounds more energetic, it sounds wider and bigger and everything, but as far as the peaks and everything, as far as how actually loud it can get, it's just the same loudness as the other one, you know. So what I want to do is show you before, because I don't want to make this too long. We're going to do this and pick this up on the next video. But a couple of things I want to point out to you. Like I said, choosing the key players. The drums are one, right? That makes sense, right? Okay, we've got the guitar, which is another one, right? The main So the distorted guitar and everything that starts off the songs. That's another foundational one. We've got a string pad here. We got strings, a pad. We've got a Rhodes, and it's got a bass in it, obviously, and it's got some horns, some hits, and stuff like that, a synthesizer. So foundationally, the things that I think hold this song together that you can get rid of some of the other stuff and it wouldn't matter is let me try this. So, let me mute that and go back to the horns muted. Let me put the horns back on. Hear the horns. I want you to notice that I brought out some of the things in the stereo drums, even though I was stuck with stereo drums, I was able to bring some things out. Okay, so let's go here. At the end here, some old other things. So there's different sections here we're going to identify and talk about it. Another groove section. So identifying what this brings is so important. Transition and thread these two sections together. Do the roles change of any instrument? Think about this. They did. I want you to think about what they did. These guys are killing it. Roles are changing and swapping around. Another transition, so roles changed again. We'll talk about it. Okay, I gotta stop. These guys are killing it, boy, the musicianship. I've made this long enough. I wanted you to get a chance to listen a little bit to get the concept of the growth that is happening throughout this song. I had to build in some of these things. Now, on the next video, what we're gonna do is go and start getting into some different things. So on the next video, we're gonna talk about controlling and processing the stuff, you know, what I did to get in there, identifying the key players. We'll go back and expand on what the key players were and then how I controlled them and processed them to sit in and work with each other as a team. And then we're going to talk about subliminal sonic messaging that's in this song, and we'll be leading that towards deeper and later videos as well, because they're all going to tie together. This will all become clear as we do it. I hope this gives you an overview of about what's coming and some of the thought processes that are about to hit you and open up your mind. It's very, very important to remember that secret number one, we're keeping the feeling here, and then blending it with the other ones. So on the next video, I'm going to show you exactly how I achieve that with the instruments so that you can hear what's going on, not just from a technical standpoint, but from an internal standpoint where it's touching and feeling your soul. The Michelangelo method, we're just going to chip away and find what's already there and make it happen. Anyway, this is Khaliq Glover, also known as Khaliq-O-Vision. I will catch you on video number 2. Bye.